Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a user form in Microsoft Word. So for example, let's say that you have a user form that you print out and you have people go ahead and fill out information. Maybe this is for an application for something or simple as a request for user information. And instead of having it physically printed out and having people fill it out, you want to do it where you have them do it online or have an electronic copy of it, where you can just email it to them and have them fill out this particular form, and maybe they would print it out or send it back. So the user can actually just go ahead and fill out the form electronically, and there's even options where they don't need to fill out a date. They can just go ahead and select from a date from a drop-down menu or drop-down calendar, and instead of maybe wanting to limit choices where they would fill stuff out, they can actually go ahead and select the drop-down. So for example, in this drop-down for state, they're selecting from a drop-down of choices, and maybe you don't want them to have too many choices. There's only a limited amount of choices they can choose from. So this is a fairly simple one, user form. I'll go ahead and go through how to create that. There's more complex ones that you can create, but this is going to be covering how to use the form creation capabilities in Word and how to do it simply. So some things to consider. First, probably want to design with pencil and paper first before we actually going into it, because it gives you kind of a sense of where you want to place your areas where you want folks to fill out your form. Another thing is, if you are creating something that's going to be reused multiple times, consider creating the template first, and this gives you the ability to have it reused later on. Third is, so if you don't have too much need for customization, you might want to consider using a template from Microsoft. So you can actually go to the Microsoft site to get a template, or within Word itself, there is a capability for you to search for templates, and there are lots of templates for you to use. So if you're not thinking about too much customization for your particular form, consider using a template from Microsoft. So let's go in and see how we can create a form using Word. Now here I am with a new document in Word, and let's say I want to create the form that I had shown earlier in the presentation. And all I need to do is type in a couple fields now. I'm just going to go ahead and enter my fields in. Maybe I want to have a first name, colon, a little space here, and then a last name. And I'll just go ahead and fill out the particular fields that I'm interested in. Address, let's say the city. Oops, let me add a space after that one, and add a space after this one. A state, and zip. And maybe I will have an option for gender. And then date, and then comments. Now I have the fields for the form filled out. Now I want to go ahead and incorporate the area where I want folks to go ahead and fill it out. So to create this user form, what I want to do is I want to ensure that I have the developer tab available. And this only shows up if you have it checked off. So if you don't have this checked off, you can actually go into the tab. If this was not there, I can go into any of these other tabs, right click and go under Customize Ribbon, and it's going to bring up the Word Options window. And what I want to do is make sure that that developer tab that's checked off. If that's not checked, go ahead and check it. Once you have it checked, and I'll go ahead and click OK. I could just click Cancel. The tab should show up now. So once that developer tab is there, I'm going to go and click in it, and I want to go into the controls group. I'm going to be using most of the commands in the control group. And there's a set of commands here that I'm going to use. For the first name, I'm going to go ahead and enter or select the plain text control content. And there's two, actually, you can see there's two text control contents. There's the plain text, and there's something here called rich text. So the main difference between the two is with the plain text, you can only enter in as a person that's filling out the form. And once you give this to the person, they can only enter in text, and they can format that text, but it's just text only. With the rich text, they can actually enter in text. They can also paste in an image or pictures or anything that is considered rich text content. So that's the only difference. I mean, in all essence, you probably just would use the plain text content control unless you want people that you're going to fill out your form to incorporate rich text type of content. So I'm going to go ahead and select the plain text content control, click on that. So now it's going to give me the content here, so I can actually start to edit it. And if I want to go into edit mode, I have to go ahead and click design mode. So once that's selected, I can actually use the properties, or I can start to click something here. I can probably just change this to enter first name. Let me go ahead and just use proper sentence structure. Enter first name. And then if we click on properties, you can see that there's a list of properties you can use. You can change the title here. I can change it to first name. It's going to show up here. You can change the style that you want it to be in, the color of it, whether or not you want a bounding box, whether or not you want to lock this content. So with locking, you're basically disabling content editing for the control, either the contents control or the content itself. But I'm going to show you another way where we can actually go ahead and lock the whole thing, where you can only, the user can only edit the areas where they can fill it out. So let me go ahead and just cancel that. I don't need to do that. I'm going to go into the second one where we have our last name and go ahead and insert another plain text control. And I'm going to call this one enter last name. Enter last name, and then I'll go ahead and actually, I think I forgot to add a space here. Alright, and address, same thing. So I'll go ahead and change the text there, enter address, and city. Let me go ahead and just speed it up. I'm going to enter the same type of controls here for this one. So I'll go ahead and speed up the video for this one. So now I'm in the gender field. So for this particular field, I'm going to go ahead and use a different type of control. Now I'm going to go ahead and show a couple of examples. So you can either use the checkbox. Let me go ahead and type enter. If I could type in male and female, I can go ahead and showcase a couple examples. Let's say, for example, if I want the checkbox, I can put that in there. And then for female, I can put the checkbox here. And you can have the user select one or the other. So that's one example that we can use. Another example, if we want to go with the older versions or previous versions of the control, is use a radio button. So let me go ahead and delete that. I'm going to press Control Z to undo those last commands. The other option that we can use is the radio button. So these are the legacy tools, and the radio button shows up here. So I can use that and put that over here after male, and do the same thing for female. And when I do that, actually, I don't really need to put the values here. I can actually just delete that, delete this one for female, and under the option buttons, once I click on properties, I can change it here. So option button 1, this is where I would go ahead and type male here, and do the same thing for female here. And for option button number 2, I can type it here. So that's another way to do that. So you can do the checkbox, you can do the radio button. So I'm going to show a third example. I'm going to show you 3 ways we can do this. Let me go ahead and delete these 2. Select those, press delete. The third example I can show, let me go ahead and go back into the gender, is use the drop down. So we have this drop down list, and the difference between, there's 2 drop downs actually. There's the drop down here, which is a combo box content control, and then there is the drop down list content control. And what the difference between these 2 are is this only gives you the selections you want to show to your user. The custom box content controls gives you a drop down where you have a list what you want to show, but you also give your user or the person filling out your form the option to add text in, or to add that their particular input in. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one, the drop down list control, and I'm going to go ahead and just type male and female here. So since we're still under design mode, let me go ahead and click close this properties windows here. Go ahead and go under properties, and we have our drop down list properties where I can add either the male Click OK and add female. And then click OK. So now I have two options available. Click OK. So once I save this, I'll go ahead and once I get out of design mode, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. Another item here is date, and we can use the date picker here. So there is a date picker option here. Go up here. There's the date picker content control. If I select on that, it will give us the option to have a drop down of a mini month calendar, and you can select there. So for the comment section, I mean, you can actually add some things here. Maybe if we wanted to add the ability for them to put a picture, we can click on this picture content control. It gives you the ability to upload a picture as part of it. You can add that, and go ahead and maybe I want to add another content control, and maybe in this instance add the rich text. So in essence, they can add the picture, or they can add content, text, and a picture. So once I get out of design mode, you'll see that you have the options to fill it out. So if I type it in, I can just fill out something, right? Let me go ahead and Control Z to undo that. And let me go show the example of the drop down. So we have the drop down here, and if I click in there and I click the drop down, you can choose between male or female. And for the date picker, we have, if we click on there, we have the drop down that gives us the month selection. So if I click today, or if I clicked maybe on May the 2nd, you'll see that it shows up in that format. Let me go back into design mode, actually to show you something else with the date picker. So if I go into design mode and click on the date picker and go to properties, there's actually some options here where you can display the date in a particular format that you prefer. So there's a range of date selection options, also locale and the calendar type for you. So let me go ahead and cancel out of that. So as I mentioned before, you also have the option. Let me go ahead and get out of design mode here. You also have the option of adding pictures. So if we click here, it will give us the option, or give the user the option, to insert a picture. And here we had our rich text. So as I mentioned before, there's the option here for the rich text, because this is a rich text field for someone to enter some comments or text, and they can also insert a picture or anything that's kind of rich text. So let me say, for example, let me go ahead and paste an image of something here somewhere else. So let's say that I had typed in some text and I wanted to insert a picture here. So I can add rich text. This rich text capability lets me add a picture. So let me go ahead and find a picture on another slide here. Let me go ahead, or another document here. Select that, Control C to copy. Go back to my other one here, Control V to paste. And you can see I can enter in a picture here. I can't do the same thing here because this is only plain text. If I go ahead and try to go here, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste, it will not let me do it, but it will let me type in things here. I can't go ahead and paste anything there. So that's the difference between the rich text and plain text. So let me go ahead and revert this back to the original values here, where we're entering first name, last name, and show you how we can do a little bit more formatting to make it a little bit more presentable instead of having everything down one column here. So we're back to how I originally had it without entering any data, and maybe you want to move things around. So the date, maybe I want to make that the first item that shows up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, Control X to copy, bring it up here, Control V to paste, and make sure that shows up. And maybe I would want, let me go ahead, I think there's a space here before the first name here. And maybe I want to have the first and the last name show up on the same line. So I can go ahead and just select this and go under Page Layout, and under Columns, let me have this as a 2-column for that particular first line. So basically now it shows up here under 2 lines. And address, 1 line is fine. And maybe for city, state, and zip, I want to have that on 1 line. So that's going to be under Page Layout again, under Columns, that's going to be 3. So it's going to go straight across here. Gender, that's fine. Comments is fine. And that should be it for that for now. And maybe I want to change the font size. Maybe that's a little bit too small, so I'll go ahead and select everything. Or I could have done this before entering it. And I'll just go ahead and go make the font size a little bit bigger, maybe a 14. So maybe that's a little bit too big. Let me go ahead and just make it a little bit smaller. Maybe a 12 would be fine. So once that's done, maybe I want to have like little lines underneath each of these, at least under the name, address, city, and state. So I can go ahead and just go under the insert and under shapes, select that one and select the lines here. I'll select that first one, which is the line. And if I want to draw a straight line, I actually have to press the shift key while I draw it out. So I'll go ahead and press the shift key while I draw out that line. And if I didn't have the shift key, you can see that I'm moving my mouse here. It would, if I didn't have the shift key, it would actually draw that line a little up or a little bit down slope, and it'll be a little bit more crooked. With the shift key, you're guaranteed to have a straight line. So I'll let go both of my mouse and the shift key, and now I have the default line. Now, this is the default line color, which is blue here. I'm going to change that to a darker color, black. I'll go ahead and select that. Well, actually, I could have just had gone into the shape outline here and just select the black color. Now, what that's done, I can just go ahead and copy that particular line to the rest of where I want the underline portion. So instead of drawing out this line again and again for the other fields that I want to have a line underneath, I can just go ahead and select this line and go ahead and press Control D. It will duplicate it, and I'll go ahead and just move it over. So for a last name here, maybe I'll just go ahead. I might need to resize this line a little bit. Now let me see, that looks okay. Let me go ahead and just move it under the, oops, see, I didn't press the shift key. You can notice that now it has angled that line. Let me go ahead and press Control Z to undo that, and maybe I'll just delete it and just do a new one here. So I'll go ahead and select this, Control D to duplicate that, and just move this over here, and that's done. And go ahead and press Control D to bring it over here under the address. Let me press the shift key again and click on the handle there and just move it over, and now you can see that it's a straight line. There's no angle to that. Let me go ahead and select this one. I'm going to go and do the same here down here. Right. So now with that set, what I want to do is I want to ensure that when this gets sent out, people will not be able to change this or change that. They can only enter in information in these fields. So to have that enabled, what I want to do is go under Developer, and where we have under Protect, click Restrict Editing. I'm not too concerned about restricting the formatting of styles, and basically styles are like headings or titles. If you're familiar with the styles here, if I go under Home, we have these styles here. If you're familiar with that, really not too concerned with that. You can see that it's if I hover over a couple of them, it gives you an example of what it looks like. Not too concerned with that one. The one that I'm concerned with is the editing restrictions. And what I want to do is make sure, let me go back to Developer tab, I want to make sure that we only allow editing within the control box. So I'm going to go ahead and check that, and under the drop down here, I'm only concerned with filling in the forms. So the areas where they need to fill in the forms, those allow editing, but the rest of it, date, these fields, they don't allow any editing. So I'll go ahead and click yes to enforce protection, and it's going to ask for a password, and it's really optional. If you just leave it blank, it will go ahead and enable that. And so for the most part, really not in protecting the sheet in itself. In my example here, if you really want to protect it, you can put a password here. But for the most part, we just kind of want to ensure people are just editing the content in there. I mean, someone who really knows how to use Word well enough will probably, if they want to change it, they'll go ahead and change it. But this is just for some quick and easy way to go ahead and just enable just the editing of the control boxes. I'll go ahead and click OK. And once that's done, it is protected. And the thing here I talked about earlier is saving this file as a template. So what we want to do is, once we have the form laid out and we have protection on it enabled, we want to save this as a template. Right now it's document 1, but I want to save it as a template. Now to save this, we can actually go under File and click Save As, but I like keyboard shortcuts. You can press Control S, that will save it, and it would save as. And so we want to save it as a template. I'm just going to go ahead and choose Desktop here, and under the Save As type, we want to make sure that it is saved as a Word template. Once I select that option to save it as a template, you'll notice that the the field or the folder tree here, it changes, and basically it puts it under the custom office templates here. And you can have it under there. Just want to make sure that you know where it's actually saved at, or you can actually just browse for where you want that specific template to be housed. By default, it puts it under the Office Templates folder directory, and so you can change it. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it here. I already have one here. For example, I'm just going to go ahead and overwrite that one. Go ahead and overwrite that one and click Save, and it's going to ask me to replace it because I had an existing one. So I'll go ahead and click OK, and once that's done, this message is just telling me it's upgraded to the newest file format. I'll go ahead and click OK to that. Now, once that's done, you'll notice that that userform.x template is saved as a .x file. Now, if I go ahead and close this file, let me go ahead and close that file. And this is my other file. And go into my Windows Explorer to find that template. Now let me go ahead and open up Windows Explorer to find that template that I saved. So I'm in the Windows Explorer and I have my template here. If I open it, you'll notice that it's right now it's a .x file, which is our template file. If I open it, you'll notice that it turns into a regular document file. Let me go ahead and double click it. It's going to open up Word. So now it's just a new document file, and once I send it off to someone, they can go ahead and enter in their information here. So maybe today's date is the 22nd, and you'll notice if I tried to go into the field here, like last name, and try to edit it, I'm going to try to select it, and it won't let me select it. If I go under state here, it won't let me select it. But anywhere where there's a field where you can enter it and you click on it, it gets highlighted, indicating you can go ahead and edit those particular fields. So I can select that, I can select this. It's going to ask me if I want to insert pictures. I can enter here the text here. But outside of that, I cannot do any editing on any of the other fields or values, only within the control fields. So that basically is our user form. A very simple one, but just gives you the concept to understand how to create one. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you're not doing too much customization on your form, you might want to go ahead and get one from Microsoft. And to do that, let me go ahead and go to File and click on New. And once we click on New, you'll notice that it lets you have the ability to search for templates. And yes, there is a bunch of templates here. So for example, let's go ahead and pick out this patient registration form. If I click on that, it's going to give you a little preview about it, and it's provided by Microsoft. So there are folks that create templates and put it up, and you might be wary about some templates that are created by companies or organizations that you don't know about. This one's provided by Microsoft, so I'm pretty confident that it probably doesn't have anything malicious on it. So I'll go ahead and click Create, and once I click Create, it's going to go ahead and put that form into a document. And you can see here there's fields that you can edit. Right now this is in a table, and all these the form controls are part of this table. And we can go into Developer, and if I go into Design Mode, this actually gives me the ability to select it. So as like a user, I'm already selecting it and maybe filling out. But if you wanted to go ahead and edit this, you can go under the Developer and go into Design Mode, and that opens up the capability for you to edit things such as choosing the text here to change. This one's probably a little bit more complicated, but at least now you kind of have the basics of understanding the controls and the properties, and under Design Mode where you can edit something like this. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.